Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Smart Impact webinar for this month. Today is all about multiple systems that many membership organizations need or have. And the question is, do you need them all? If you need them all, how do you implement them? Do you do it at once, or do you do them also all at once, or do you do them split over a phased period? We're waiting for some more people to attend, which is good. But I'll just start the presentation anyway. So there's 5 of us that you'll hear from today. The master of ceremonies really is Matt, who's one of our colleagues from an organisation called Get Savvy. He'll be doing the introduction area and thought-provoking part. Then we'll hear from our Jeremy, but also I'm delighted to welcome Bill Brand, who's from the Chartered Insurance Institute. And they've been customers for a long time of ours. So Bill's going to be talking with Jeremy about what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, and so on and so on. And then after that, there's some more information from myself and from Chris Likely and a demonstration. So etiquette, we're recording this session. We will publish this probably Thursday, send you all links to that so that you can review it at will. If you've got any questions, please put them in the chat. We usually get some preliminary questions as well, which we've got, so there'll be Q&A at the end of the session, but obviously we can answer them through the chat as we go along. The agenda, as I say, it's essentially what are the issues, what are some of our thoughts, discussion of a real live case study, which is the Chartered Institute of Insurance, the Chartered Insurance Institute, with Bill and Jeremy, and then Chris and I'll go through some functionality as well to give you an example of some of the systems. And the last part from me, some of the things you'll be seeing today are our AI. We'll be talking a little bit about what we've done in AI. We'll be talking about our CRM and CMS. But we're delighted to say at MEMCOM, which is a large UK organisation, a couple of weeks ago, we entered seven categories in their awards, and I'm delighted to say we came first or second in all of them. So lots of thanks to our other customers, Fire Industry Association and the Heart of England Co-op, but the one that really pleased us was Best Supplier of the Year into the membership market space. So we were delighted with that, and we'll hope to bring out some of those attributes in today's session. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Matt.
Oh, great. Thank you. What's essentially an introduction or a primer to today's topic. So really, as Steve's already indicated, we're going to look at tackling these systems. Which one of these do we really need as organizations in the sector? And if so, how and when do we implement them? So if I just give a first impression of what many of us are likely to be hearing out there right now, if it's about CRM, some organizations may well be stuck on spreadsheets. They really need a CRM. If we think about website, perhaps some of our websites are still somewhat dated. We want to change them. There's always this conversation about, do we need a portal? We think about mobile apps. I feel like this is a recurring loop. Do we need an app? What would we use an app for? How would we use an app? And then, of course, with LMS, you might be saying, do we need one? Are we that type of organization? Shouldn't we just give our people LinkedIn Learning? So a lot of questions in there really about which systems we need, which is, of course, our topic today. If we think about AI, then I'm sure everyone will be hearing a version of this, whether it's from their leadership or generally. So who are we? We're the CEOs. What do we want? We want AI. AI to do what? Well, we don't know, or we don't know yet. When do we want it? Well, we want it right now or yesterday. So although there's a lot of a mandate for AI and introduction and adoption, really some of the detail about how we implement it is still potentially a mystery to us, or certainly something we're working out. And again, we'll let this run on screen, but the sad reality is that many of us may be facing this technological challenge right now, which is even if we've got systems in place, we may well have gaps. And certainly all of these areas of what we do may not be integrated yet. And a special mention for anyone who's doing a lot of hard work on spreadsheets still without a core set of systems. So, help is at hand. We do want to answer some questions for you today. If you look at the left-hand side of the screen, if we think about CRMs, web development and portal technology, we believe these are essential. They're going to offer a high impact for your organization. They're usually very closely aligned with your mandate in terms of whatever you do for the sector and for your members and stakeholders. Looking at the other systems then, mobile apps, LMS, or anything adjacent, these are what we call optional or situational. So, it depends on the type of organization you are, or indeed the level of urgency around this particular area. So don't delay, bring in your CRM web technology and portals as soon as you can. And with the others, introduce them later if you need them at all. And we'll talk about road mapping as we go through a little later. Thinking about AI adoption then, we don't want to suggest that AI must come later. Smart Impact can help you with certain examples of how you can use it no matter where you are in your technology roadmap. But just to say, get your governance and policies in place up front. Start thinking about how you're building a technology foundation for AI and start to explore what we call key use cases. Where's the business going to use AI in the most effective way as a first test run of it? And then thinking about later on, you can then explore more innovative solutions like chatbots or agents if that's something that fits your organization. Generally, you're expanding the level of automation and AI support that you have. And of course, every step of the way, talk to your supplier, get that really good consultation advice about what you do and when. So, simple advice, but walk, then run, then sprint with AI. We really do believe that's the way forward here. Many of you will have seen and used this. Don't want to insult any intelligences here, but a prioritization matrix can be a really useful way to determine what you need and when, or if you need it at all. So think about the business issues or goals you've got, list them out, think about all the technologies that you're considering right now. And this process will let you know exactly what's urgent and what you really need up front versus what can wait, or indeed is just not for you. So the other answer is, okay, if you're clear on sort of what systems you need to implement, how about when and how? So there are two general approaches here. There's the big bang launch, or a single launch of many technologies. And then there are, of course, phased launches, so several implementations over time. Simple pros and cons here. With a big bang launch, it really does deliver a lot in one go. It is something that you can potentially ask for investment for once and then deliver once as a big change. The flip side of that is it is technically riskier, and also it's introducing a lot of new things for your members or stakeholders at one time. There's a lot of business continuity you need to manage in one go when you launch. And with phased launches, obviously it is steadier pace of change, so it does allow you to control that, and it might actually help with budgeting, over several years, maybe under a program structure. The flip side here is it takes longer to release those benefits. And also, as a change for your people, it's harder to keep the momentum going over phase launches. And also determining what's in each phase can often be a cause of debate. So a bit of humor here, many of you might have done this, some not, but a big bang is like base jumping, it's a big leap. It's quite exhilarating and risky at times, but there's a huge celebration when you do land safely and you're embedding a lot of new systems at once. Phase launches, somewhat like abseiling, several slower, steadier, safer drops to the ground, several phases of launches that should feel a gentler pace of change for you and everyone involved. And just to say, what does good look like, or what should your end goal be? If you look on the left there, you've got things like good implementation of AI through GPT-5 or similar technologies. If you're a Microsoft customer, you've got the great benefits of using Copilot. And as you can see tidily, you're serving all the functions of your organization in a safe, fully integrated ecosystem. And of course, what's that doing? It's satisfying the needs of all of your audiences, and it's eradicating key problems we often see, like too many spreadsheets or too many workaround processes or copies of data everywhere. So this is doing all of this so we can become a much more effective organization. We're going to have a poll now, and Chris Lightley's very kindly agreed to trigger this. So I'll read the question and run through the options, and you definitely have a couple of moments to consider this. So, as a litmus test today, which of these 5 systems does your organization really need? And what I might add there is, which combinations do you really think, thinking about this today, that your organization needs? So, of course, you may have a need for all 5. You might have a busy roadmap to implement. And then you've got these other combinations, which I'll read very quickly. You've got CRM and web only. We find in the sector many clients do very well with just those core systems. You've got CRM, web, and LMS if you're more of an educational organization, CRM, web, and a mobile app if you think your members or stakeholders really need that kind of service in their pockets, walking around in the field, and then AI tools. Maybe if your focus today is on AI, it's useful for us to know that as well. So Chris, maybe a quick dip sample on what you're seeing as the poll has been launched there.
Yeah, so I think you were right in your statement about CRM and web only seems to be leading at the moment, and coming in second place is CRM, web, and LMS. And then the last three are kind of separated all. It's interesting, at the bottom we got all 5 of the tools and AI tools kind of neck and neck in terms of responses, but CRM and web only being kind of a key leader in the ranks.
Brilliant. So as I pass back, that's probably music to our ears. We know an awful lot of organizations have core needs, and probably we also know there's a bit of focus in our conversations today around educational organizations and LMS and this burning platform of what do we do with AI. So I'm going to stop sharing and pass back now, but I think I'm going to Jeremy, who's going to talk to Bill Brand from the CII. Jeremy.
Yep.
Coming through for me.
Perfect. Thank you ever so much. So good morning, everyone. As Matt said, my name's Jeremy Jaley and I'm Business Development Lead here at Smart Impact, coming to you from what feels like a very autumnal West Sussex this morning. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by our guest, Bill Brand, who is CRM Manager at CII. That's the Chartered Insurance Institute. And CII is the professional body for insurance and planning professionals, and dedicated to building public trust in those industries and supporting their members to deliver excellent quality orientated services. It's a long-standing institute. You've been around for over 100 years, I think, Bill, since 1912, and you serve a global community of professionals working in insurance, but also in finance and other related sectors. Bill, fantastic to have you with us. Do you want to say a few words of introduction about yourself?
Good morning. As Jeremy said, my name is Bill Brand. I'm the CRM Manager for the CII. We've been working with Smart Impact for a number of years now. We had a bit of a big bang project a couple of years ago where we replaced our kind of legacy database-based system. And since then, we've kind of been building upon it. And it'll be nice to be able to share some of our experiences with you this morning.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Bill. Yeah, we've been working together for several years. I think we joined forces in 2020, and in that time, we've been your key CRM supplier. I know you've got several suppliers for different systems, but our focus has been on that CRM approach. And I think we were first working on improving a previous implementation of Dynamics 365 that wasn't really delivering for the Institute, and then subsequently working with you through our Smart Transform continuous improvement program, which provides ongoing enhancement, support and extension for the system into different areas of the business. So understanding our role and understanding that CRM is viewed as a business critical system at CII because, well, first and foremost, it manages that key relationship with your members, things like their subs payments, your communications with them, various other aspects of the engagement life cycle. So I wanted to start by talking about kind of vision to execution. How do you approach CRM development and go about translating CII's high level goals and objectives into tangible CRM initiatives and projects?
It's all about tickets, really. I mean, we create tickets for everything. Everything is logged centrally. They can then be triaged, distributed to the right business owner. So in terms of CRM, that's myself. I would then kind of review the issue, the change request. Is it a bug? Is it something that can be fixed quickly? And then all our changes are logged within our DevOps platform, and they're basically given a priority, and then they go into another queue to be reviewed. So we work in what we call time boxes. So they're basically 3-week sprint periods, and then before each time box, all the kind of new requests are reviewed. We need to establish how long something's going to take, who's going to perform the change. And only once that kind of initial investigation has been done, do we start to kind of actually implement anything. So, you know, we've got to establish how many hours something is going to take, how many other things are being asked to be done at the same time, who's going to need to perform this. We obviously know that we only have a certain amount of hours within a time box. Developers are only available for a certain amount of time. There's also only a certain amount of budget that can be achieved. So the first thing is to really establish what's basically the ask, and how are we going to fit that in. So once that initial investigation has been completed, so we know how long it's going to take, we know if there are any budget implications, we've then got a technical design authority. So this is a forum that exists internally with basically all the tech key stakeholders. So we have some from the web team, the CRM's representative, our kind of program management team, the solution architect, the data architect, at which point everything would be reviewed to make sure it's in line with all the other priorities. It may get approved, which means it can move on for development. It may not. The group may actually ask for information, and then it will go back for further investigation. Once something has been approved, then obviously it can be scheduled into a time box along with a kind of a testing plan, a release plan, what needs to be done for post rollout. We then have another group called a prioritization group. So this is a weekly meeting that's basically looking at all the requests, all the things that are going towards the developers. And we're talking about multiple teams here, not just CRM. Again, making sure we're not overcommitting ourselves when we're only promising we're going to deliver what we've got in terms of resource and budget. It sometimes does feel like there's an awful lot of red tape and hoops to jump through to get something changed or fixed. But you know, really, without it, it does open up too much risk and causes problems in the future.
So I think I know, Bill, that you have a pretty critical role in all this, because you are the key interface between us as the CRM provider and the business in terms of those various priorities. So working with those two different committees that you have, TDA for how we're going to do this technically, prioritization for how do we make sure that business objectives are being brought together. So how do you establish the sort of priorities, timelines, and then go about measuring success when you're putting that all together? Does that start with the prioritization group?
Yeah, very, very much so. Everything is done collectively. What we always try to avoid doing is anything siloed at all, because that always is going to cause problems further on down the line.
Yeah, so making sure that there's those flows of communication and people are working together on what's going on.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So obviously, one of the key reasons you're using Dynamics is to, you know, improve how you operate. So to improve how staff are managing data, managing processes, and sort of driving through the interactions and engagements that you have with your various members. But it's also, you know, quite an important tool for sort of controlling how people are interacting with you and understanding the nature of the relationship. What have been the most significant areas of the business that have improved through the effective use of D365 as your CRM platform at CII?
Well, there's been lots. I think everything is an improvement on the old platform, but it's in some ways it's very hard to look past email. Email is our main communication channel to members. The old email platform, it was a siloed system. There was no data integration. Every time someone wanted to use it, they had to upload a list. There was no real access to kind of campaign results. There had lots of teams using it, but no one had any visibility of what anyone else was doing. And customer insights basically resolved all of this for us. And I think a really good example has been what we've been able to achieve with our CPD. So we have a CPD auditing process, and members are picked for audit, and we have a kind of workflow that's set up in CRM that picks the members. Once someone's been picked, the contact record gets updated, and then this automatically adds the record to a data segment, which is attached to a customer journey, and then automatically fires out an email to say that they've been picked and they need to submit their CPD information. A month later, the same journey sends out another reminder email, but not before it's checked the contact record to see if they are compliant or not. And if they are compliant, it drops them out the journey, so it's not going to send any emails out that people shouldn't be getting. And then the journey continues kind of month after month. For the CPD team, what they can see is exactly, they can look up a contact record, they can see what emails were sent, when it was opened, because the main thing they get from members is, oh, I never got that email. You never told me I have to do any of this. And actually, the CPD team always know the truth because they can see exactly what was sent and when they opened it. And the automation, the visibility that process has now implemented for the CPD team has been revolutionary, because previously they were completely in the dark with what they were doing. They were relying on kind of sending emails out manually, recording things on spreadsheets. We've completely transformed that team, and it's been a real game changer.
And presumably as well, even the sort of setting up of that audit process, selecting members, communicating with them, etc., used to be manual busy work that people were having to sort of churn through Outlook, emails,
exactly.
Lists, etc.
Exactly, and now it's just a very simple workflow. Someone goes in, kicks it off, and then everything happens as if by magic.
So I suspect staff, the people who previously were running those processes can feel the immediate benefit of that. But how do you sort of demonstrate to senior leadership, I don't know, the overall benefit of that and the kind of metrics or benefits realization that they might see from it?
Well, I mean, one of the key things is just the number of people that we've now have in that team. We were able to reduce the amount of resource that with people to kind of performing manual tasks, and actually take that resource and put them elsewhere into the business, so they can be serving more value.
Fantastic. So basically, in making people focus on member engagement and value delivery rather than busy work.
Exactly.
Okay. Another area where we quite regularly help clients, and I know we've done this with CII quite a bit as well, is around integration. So again, with legacy systems or ineffective systems, quite often there's a lot of heavy lifting required in terms of moving data between different systems, and that makes it very difficult for you to get a kind of 360-degree holistic single customer view of your members and the people you're interacting with. How do you approach integration between various systems of engagement that you use at CII and CRM?
I think we have multiple integrations. We've got kind of our legacy AS400 platform. We've got Microsoft Nav, which all the finance team use. We've got websites, we've got CPD tools, we've got platforms for local institutes. Some of them are just kind of back-end platforms. Others are platforms that members will be using directly. And I talked about before about our technical design authority, the process, and the need for all stakeholders to be involved. And when it comes to integration projects, this is never more so true, because none of these can be done in silo. And what's always really key is about requirements and locking them down right at the start and ensuring that everyone from all the available stakeholders is comfortable with what's being done, and make sure it's really clear with what's being delivered. But unfortunately, things don't always go to plan. So, for example, we've got a current challenge. It was that we've got an API built that takes data out of CRM, passes it to another platform. The team currently testing this is not getting the data they need. The API is all working, but there's particularly one data point that's missing. Now, when we go back on the original documentation, it'd been missed, this particular requirement, even though it went through the kind of processes that I'd highlighted before. Would then be compounded by the project manager has left, the developer who built the API has also left, and the issue suddenly becomes a little bit political, because we've basically publicly committed to delivering this project. We've had one of the presidents stand up saying this is going to be delivered on this date, and And yesterday I witnessed something that I've probably never seen before. We had a Teams call that had the CEO, the membership director, and a whole load of developers on the call as we try to kind of come together to work out exactly what we can fix, how quickly we can do it, how quickly we can roll out, so we can still deliver something on time. Being able.
Go on, Bill.
Sorry. I think internally we've really been starting to look at what resourcing do we need in place to make sure that these sort of things never happen. And recently we've kind of recruited a solutions architect, a systems architect, a data architect. We're currently looking at some database administrators, because we've got to stop things kind of slipping through the crack. And this is just kind of one example where, even though you do have the kind of committees and such like, if everyone isn't looking at all the detail, something can be missed. And when it comes to integration, it only takes one particular data point and the whole thing can fail.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's that important interface, isn't it, between planning, preparation, making sure you know what you're trying to achieve, but also having the right technical building blocks in place to make sure that you deliver on that, which I think is a nice segue actually into my next question, which is around governance. We've talked about that quite a bit, but also change management and adoption of the system, because in many organizations, the technical rollout of CRM is easier than actually getting people to use it well and invest in it. So how do you structure your approach to change management, communications, training, and ongoing oversight to ensure that CRM is adopted and people are happy to adopt it, and that you're getting the information you need to continuously improve how you're using it?
Well, I guess we're kind of fortunate in some ways that we have a training manager internally, so they can basically onboard new starters. We have a wiki which is kind of full of all the user guides. So it's just kept centrally. Everyone can access this, and there's always a big push to ensure that these are up to date. And when a process changes, the user guides get updated. Whenever there are any changes being rolled out to the platform, whether that's a bug fix or new functionality, we've got a dedicated Teams channel for all the users, and we post in here what's changing, when it's happening, and if there's kind of new functionality or kind of new processes, there will be a kind of detailed how to produce. We obviously have the kind of screenshots and information of what needs to be followed, and that will actually be emailed out to all the individual users, as well as being added to the wiki. Depending on the size of the change, it may actually require more than just the training manager to retrain staff. So in the case of the customer insights and changing from outbound to real-time marketing, as we did earlier in the year, Smart Impact actually came along and supported us on the training. So we basically jointly ran an in-person half-day workshop for all the users, taking them through all the kind of new functionality, new ways of working. And I would have worked with my colleagues at Smart Impact to help us basically design and deliver all that training. The other thing that we've got internally is a group of super users. So we basically have one dedicated person per department, and then we will kind of regularly meet as a forum to talk about the kind of the sort of forthcoming changes. You can imagine with all the kind of the committees and prioritisation group, the technical design authority, things take a while. So when someone has suggested something or something needs to be fixed, there can be quite a long lead time for things to actually get released. So that's quite a good forum to keep people up to date with what's sort of coming down the line, but also get their feedback on things that have recently been implemented and making sure it is working and delivering as they expect. It always feels like it's never done, and there's always something new on the horizon, but definitely having those right communication lines in place does make the change management process much easier.
Bill, from what you're describing, and the setup that I know you have at CII, you guys are really embracing quite a modern approach to how you develop CRM, and that point you make about the work never being done. Well, I mean, that's because the system needs to evolve to continually meet CII's evolving needs, different ways of interacting with with stakeholders because of different communication methods, adopting things like AI that Matt's been talking about, and making sure that you're, creating that sort of very high quality engagement that members have. So I'm not surprised if it was a sort of point in time system that had stopped evolving, it would probably be even worse than having that long to-do list of things that you need to get through. But on that note, and I suppose to wrap up, looking ahead, what is on the roadmap for the next year, and what are you most excited about in terms of the ongoing development of your CRM platform?
So we're kind of deep in business planning at the moment. This year's big project was obviously the delivery of customer insights. Next year, we're kind of looking at a phase 2 of that. Now we've got the functionality. What do we need to have in place to really utilize the system, especially looking at trigger campaigns? Just looking at, can we make sure that all the data that we need to basically trigger campaigns, is that in CRM, especially when we've still got things that sit in other platforms. We still do have teams that are working on spreadsheets, so we're kind of looking at how we can bring those into the fold and actually get their processes streamlined and automated, like I talked about with the CPD team. The other big project for us next year is that we're moving from Microsoft Nav to Business Central for kind of finance and invoicing, and the finance platform and the CRM platform have to sit hand in hand together. Master data set is in CRM, so that is going to be a huge undertaking. And hopefully we'll still have some time to look at the kind of sales operation and our events operation as well. So basically lots and lots to keep us busy.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're going to be bored, Bill.
Not at all.
By the sounds of things. I should just say, in case people don't know, Customer Insights is the marketing platform in Dynamics 365. So you've adopted the internal D365 marketing platform and actually upgraded this year, as you said, to the latest version of it.
Yeah.
Exciting new features that Microsoft have brought to that platform. Look, Bill, thank you ever so much for coming along. You, as always, are a wealth of information about actually how to get these systems working and running effectively for organizations. So it's massively kind. And I'm going to now hand over to Steve, who I think is going to talk about some benefits of platform features.
Thanks very much for that insight. And it was very good to see the different tools and measures that you're making, but also to hear about the various teams. So for everyone in the audience, CII is obviously quite a big membership association, and Bill's in the lucky position of having lots of experts employed by the organization, as well as being able to deal with external organizations such as us. And that's what I wanted to just pick up on a couple of slides, and then I'll hand over to Chris. But whether you're a large or a small organization, projects are still very similar. You go through various stages, from initial ideas, seeing what could work for you, then choosing the right products, choosing the right suppliers, and then going through the initial project, and then multiple phases of continuous improvement, which is the stage that Bill and his teams are now on. Because these systems aren't one shot, then they work. You have to keep them maintained because they help you evolve. And as you evolve, you need the system to evolve to push you further, and so on. So it's a constant evolution. So the point of these couple of slides is there are various key stages in every project, and whether you're a large organization like CII or whether you're a much smaller organization, good suppliers can not only provide you with expert advice, but they can provide you with a flexible resource as well. So at key stages in the project, you can hire experts in for that specific area for a week or a day or a couple of months, depending on what it is. And then that team can get smaller. You move on, another stage, you can start to hire things. So think of suppliers as expert contractor suppliers as well, because we don't expect our customers to be experts in CRM. Some are, some aren't, but we can provide the guidance and help and essentially provide the knowledge transfer so that you can get better and better as you go along. But in the meantime, you can call on organizations like us to provide bodies as well as expertise. So that's all I really wanted to say around that part. What I'll do is hand over to Chris, and we're going to look at some aspects of integrated solutions.
Thanks a lot, Steve. So I thought today, especially looking back at the response to the first poll, that there's a big understanding of what CRM and web portals can do. And I think there's a lot of expectation from membership organizations and their members to the kinds of functionality that should be inherent in a portal. So things like being able to sign up for a membership, renew my membership, pay my invoices, manage my preferences, all of those kinds of things. And that is really key to an integrated system between CRM and your portal and web. But what's often not so spoken about is the aspects around personalization using that data. So yes, we can integrate so that people can sign up and have that member appear within the CRM. But what if we can use that data to then provide more personalized portal experiences, guide users to the kinds of information we want them to be able to find based on the data that we hold for them. So I thought I'd do a short demo today that kind of looks at that and has a look at some of the options available when it comes to personalization, as well as what that data might look like within CRM and that we can perhaps utilize for personalization within the portal. So I will share my screen, which should now be visible for you all. So we're having a look at one of our implementations. This is for NHS providers, and we've made a very slick, very clean portal for them that's fully integrated into CRM, and I'll show you sort of what that data might look like within a normal CRM system. And I'm not going to dwell too much on the features and functionality of the portal. I'd rather talk a bit more about how we've used the content management system, or the CMS system, and its integration into CRM to do the personalization. So of course we do have things like the ability to register for a new account if we want to. We have the ability to link this to types of information within CRM. So if we want them to find an existing organization within CRM or link to job categories that might be part of an option set, we start to have that integration showing up from the very first screen. But what I want to show you is once we've gone to sign into our portal, we'll be presented with all of the things that they might be able to do from within their membership hub. And all of absolutely everything that you see on the screen at the moment is all modular and all being displayed purely because of who I am and the information that's held with me within the system. And I'll hop into the back end in a moment and show you what that looks like. But just to touch slightly on some of the functionality, we do have a bit of an overlap in terms of the functionality that is now expected and possible as part of a modern mobile solution or web solutions. So things like the ability to have a fully responsive portal, so our ability to have a very mobile friendly, natively mobile friendly solution. We can start to do away with those needs for traditional apps and standalone application building, because everything we build these days is so fully responsive by default. But also we have things like event management, so our ability to book into CPD and learning courses, and our ability to manage our communication preferences, and all of those kinds of things really come to the front within a modern portal solution. So our ability to go in and manage the types of newsletters and resources that are going to be available to us. This is all, of course, fully tailored to me based on my preferences and my information within CRM. So things like the text that appears, things like the different icons and screens and functionality that's available to me are all managed as part of that personalization process. So our websites are built in Umbraco CMS. So if I go over to the tab to my left, sorry, I've been signed out. I'll come back to that in a second. But let me log in a second. So if we go into our Umbraco solution in the background, we can have a look at the My Account screen. So if you've ever used a CMS system, whether that's Umbraco, Kentico, WordPress, this is where we're able to build out the pages that we have access to on the front end. So This is the My Account page, and we can see that we have things like the Membership Hub, but we see that there's multiple different versions of this depending on who will actually be visiting this this page. So we can see that there's a little orange notification telling us that this is being controlled by personalization. But as we go down, if I select something like newsletters and I just click on the pencil, we can see that there are personalization groups that are associated to it. So only people that are part of this personalization group and pulling this information in from CRM will have the ability to see this aspect of the portal. So I'm going to pause there, and I'm actually going to just jump over to CRM. I'm going to point out what that kind of information might look like. So if I go over to my CRM system, so for any of you that are familiar with Dynamics 365, we would traditionally record members as a contact record within the CRM system. So we can see that we have the various different people and their membership grade and what the current status of that membership grade is, or that membership. So if I go over to Abigail, we can see that there's a whole bunch of information that becomes available for me to use within our portal. So things like our membership status, whether this is current or up for renew or payment pending. Imagine being able to use that information within our portal. So where we have our content blocks at the top, to be able to put in a big banner image at the top of the website saying things like, your membership is coming up for renewal, please click here to action that renewal process. Things like giving tailored information if people have been a long-term member. So if people have been a member for the last 5 years, they may not be that interested in sort of some of the more basic benefits of being a member. There might be more things around advanced CPD or LMS and learning materials that they might be more interested in. So kind of any of this information that we see on the contact record, we can start to use that to build out these personalization groups within the CMS system to be able to tailor what that will look like on the front end. And just as an example, if I jump over to my members, and let's just search for a non-member. So this is a particular user within the system. So they've registered in the background, and this is, I can now go in and impersonate that member. If I go and impersonate them, we'll see that as a non-member, they have a very different interface to somebody who is a full member. So they don't have access to things like the newsletters, the networks, etc. So as a non-member who might only be registering in order to join events and manage their profile information, we would give them a very different a different look and feel and different layout and functionality that's available to them. And I think that the last thing I'll just bring out as well, just on the back of what Bill was talking about with customer insights, is that yes, we can use contact information to bring out content on the portal. So things like how many CPD points they've scored in the last 6 months and things like that. But we can also use customer insights to build out more advanced audiences to really bring out tailored experiences through the portal. So what you're looking at on the screen at the moment is customer insights. So as Jeremy alluded to earlier, this is the marketing system of Dynamics 365. And within that marketing system, we have what's known as segments. And segments is our ability to build out audiences. Now, if we have a look at the contact record, we can pull out certain piece of information like the membership status. But what if we wanted to go a lot further than that? And what if we wanted to start bringing out more engagement related actions as well and insights? So from here, I'm just going to go ahead and build a new segment just to give you a bit of a feel as to what this might look like. So let's call this, I'm just going to call this engagement. And we can use natural language processing down at the bottom to talk to the system and say, create a segment of all of my contacts with a current membership if we wanted to. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to create I'm just going to create a quick one from scratch. So what the segment builder does is it allows us to get really into the weeds of our data and really build out tailored tailored segments and audiences. So we can see that we have a whole bunch of attributes, and these are all the different types of records that are inside the system. So things like donations and CPD scores and event registrations, all of those things come available to us when we use the segment builder as well. So if I go something like join date, I want to take my membership join date, and I want to make this a let's make this anyone who's joined within 2025 as an example. So if I want to find everyone who's joined this year, and then I want to start bringing in behavioral groups to that as well. So I want to find people who perhaps haven't opened an email in the last 6 months, or people who haven't attended an event, because what I want to do is on their portal, I would like to bring out banner images at the top that can encourage them to engage. So if they maybe haven't opened an email for a long time, that might be an indication that we're capturing the wrong preferences for them, so that they haven't actually opted into the right communications and things like that. Or if they haven't attended an event, maybe we want to take this event that is hidden down near the bottom and make it more prominent and bring it up to the top as part of that personalization process. So by building segments, we can then find everyone who's part of this very complex segmentation process and surface that information directly within our CMS system and within the portal. I think really the options are almost limitless at the moment. So the ability to create these personalization groups and this personalization is not the hard part anymore. The hard part really the capacity to actually map out those journeys and create enough content for them. And I think that's a role that AI will play more and more in the future. Cool, and that's going to be it from me, Steve. I'm going to hand back over to you or to Matt. But yeah, thanks a lot. Hope that was helpful.
Lovely, thanks, Chris. So, yeah, obviously there's a massive amount of different areas we can cover around integration and the different tools, but that's just a snippet of how real-time integration can help a lot with personalization and engagement, and it turns a portal into another communications channel because you can filter what messaging you're passing through and what interactions you're having. So we've covered quite a lot of ground today. If I summarize some of the key stuff, yeah, as the polls show, and as some of the presentations have covered, CRM and a very, very tightly integrated portal are the key foundations with a more brochure-aware website. That's what every association needs. But how do you work out whether you need mobile apps or a learning management system and so on? Well, really, it's down to looking at the business functions you've got and creating a prioritization matrix. So Matt covered that, where we've got the ticks and the crosses on the various functions that are needed and so on. It seems to me a lot of organizations take on learning management systems when they don't really need one, and they can be quite expensive in time as well as in money, so staff time as well as money. So consider whether you really do need them, but if you do, then tie them into your CRM so that you're creating CPD records automatically out of the learning that's being done and so on and so on. Because otherwise you're just you're taking a system in to help you become more efficient, but then you're creating a load of manual work for your staff or your members to update activities on it. But prioritization matrices are good, but after that, create the proper roadmap with your your most valuable functions up front in phase one, but then iterate after that. And as I showed you before, we can help and guide, and other organizations like us can help and guide you through all of those different steps and the prioritization of what you need and so on. It might mean that you've got to then go through a big bang, and they are big and they are a bang quite often. So you do need to have a lot of resources available to that. If we can do things in a phased manner, that's generally a better and less intrusive way of doing it while business as usual carries on. But, different methods work for different organizations, and it depends how pressing your needs are. And AI, there's plenty of other past presentations, and I'll show you links to those at the end of this session. But AI, quite a lot of organizations are saying, let's get all of our systems right and then put AI in. We've proven since 2023 and the awards we've won that AI can go in at any stage. If your data's better, your AI can be more productive, but there's an awful lot of good stuff you can do in terms of staff productivity, quality raising, throughput, growing your organization without growing your headcount, just by using our Smart AI suite without even it being linked to your CRM system. So you don't have to do one before the other. You can do these things simultaneously, or you can put AI in without touching your CRM at all. So if you want to know more about that, I'll be putting some links into some resources after we go through Q&A. So that's a quick summary of the takeaways, and we've got some downloadable resources you can look at for some of those as well. I think we'll have a quick poll from Chris, and then we'll move on to Q&A. So, well, let's move on, but essentially, I think that's underlying what we've been trying to get across as well. Big bangs can be done. Bill and CII went through, a very big bang, and it's a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it can be risky. So if you can phase things by modular approach, and that's how we've split our software suite up, so you can have small parts of membership and then add in events and add in CPD and so on, then that's a much more elegant way of replacing what you've currently got. But it's the right horse for the right course that needs to be decided. So we'll now move on to questions and answers. So I haven't been looking at the chat as I've been talking, but if there's any in the chat, we can cover there. Or Matt, I think there might be some questions that have come through previously.
Yeah, Steve, I'm having a look through chat and not seeing anything, but thank you, David, for some kind comments there about the UX, the user interface, and how well it looks in the demo section you saw. I agree with that. I don't have set questions with me, Steve, but happy to kind of field this section if people want to drop any questions into chat now. Happy to do that.
So if I can come back to Bill, to put him on the spot just for a couple of minutes. I mean, what would you think, what would your advice be to smaller organizations that are trying to go through the sort of thing that you did, but on a smaller scale? So it's wholesale replacement of pretty much everything. What advice would you give them in terms of how to start eating that massive elephant?
Having sort of done similar things in a previous life, it is very much the same process, but just involves wearing a lot more hats at the same time. And quite often your kind of set of stakeholders that you need to deal with would kind of probably be your senior management team, make sure they are completely on board, and then having to then kind of really lean on your partners and suppliers for that expertise where you haven't got that resource in house. And at the CII, we are a little bit spoilt with some of the roles that we have available, so you can go inside. But if you've not got that expertise, then that's where having the right partner in place makes all the difference.
And that's I think that's quite an interesting point, because I think from my objective being one of those suppliers, a lot of customers tell me that there are two types of supplier, really. There are those that come in and just do whatever they're asked to do. And then there are those that provide consultancy and advice and say, well, are you sure you want to do it like that? Or we've got other examples of how you could do it differently. So some organizations like to say what they want and have it done, but quite often you're therefore not leveraging the expertise of suppliers that do this all of the time. What we try and get our consultants to do is to challenge, not everything, but if people come up with some great ideas, then obviously you run with them, but try and always make sure that they're practical. But we will challenge and make people think of different ways of maybe doing the same thing. And what we try to always avoid is, well, why'd you do it like that? Well, the customer says, because we've always done it like that. And there's no point automating things that aren't efficient. You should try and make these areas as efficient as possible. So I think you use partners like us, but use them to advise you on what's practical to do as well, rather than just blindly telling them what to do and they do it. So Matt, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just to say thank you on that one, Steve. And David's come on chat with a question there. I'll give an approximation of an answer around this based on my understanding, David. But yes, good to show what activities or the positions in an organization that members hold. So I'm going to talk about both members of your organization and members, in the external world. So, if we think about what technologies you need, you can also go down to the level of talking to the various functional leads in the organization and working out if you do have a learning lead, for example, do they definitely need a learning management system, or someone who might have more of a marketing focus, what they require. And then for members, as I understand it, I think it's, thinking about the types of professional members we have, if we are a membership body, like the CII is obviously an insurance-based membership organization, and going down to the level of roles and activities that they conduct. So how is the technology that you're producing supporting the various types of insurance professional, for example? I hope that helps. Steve?
Okay, so we're nearing the end, so I'll just put some slides for additional resources up now. So I hope you've enjoyed it and found this useful. If you would like to talk to any of our people, we've got on our website, you can just scan that QR code, or you can just email us. If you scan the QR code, you can just book a 30-minute session with our consultants, and we'll just talk through what issues you've got. We can give advice. It's a free service. We're happy to provide consultancy. If you want to talk to us further after that, then that's up to you. We're not going to doggedly chase you, but that's a free discussion area. Other resources. So if you go to, we talked about AI and preparation for AI. Now, there's a lot of resources that are available on our website there, which are about surveys, how to spot great use cases for AI, the steps you might go through to start to introduce it, and so on. So again, they're all there. You just sign in a little form, and then you'll be able to download a whole pack of different resources, which our customers have found very, very helpful and useful for your own planning, or you can work with us on them. And then finally, we run these events once or twice a month. We've got another one later in this month, which is focused on trades unions. And then we've some more for the rest of the year. The one in November is going to be focused more around AI and Copilot, which, as you'll probably all know, is Microsoft's suite of AI tools for Microsoft Office and Microsoft Dynamics and so on. So if you'd like to go to the website or scan that QR code, then please register for future events as well. And that's just remains for me to say thank you very much for attending. I hope it was interesting for you. And as I say, we'll be publishing the recordings on Thursday. We'll circulate the follow-up calls around to you and follow-up emails so that that'll link to the recordings. And hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.